The armor you're wearing is the cage that's holding you back. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast hosted by LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce like sweet softness whispered in French. I'm your host today, and I recently had the privilege of sitting down with Sherrita Barrie, a visionary leader who is transforming how Black professionals and entrepreneurs show up in the world. Sherrita Barrie is not just changing businesses, she's changing lives, one boundary at a time, one moment of softness at a time. Her work centers on helping high achieving Black women release the weight of the Superwoman cape and step into a new era, one where vulnerability is not a liability, but a leadership superpower. She is rewriting the narrative of what it means to be powerful, and her impact is rippling through boardrooms, startups, and communities across the globe. Today, I want to share the profound insights from our conversation. Insights that challenge everything we've been taught about strength, resilience, and success. Let me start with a question that might make you uncomfortable. What if everything you've been told about strength is wrong? What if the very armor you've been wearing to protect yourself is actually the thing holding you back from your greatest achievements? What if softness, vulnerability, and rest are not signs of weakness, but strategic assets that unlock innovation, deeper relationships, and sustainable success? For decades, Black women have been told to be strong, to hold it together, to never let them see you sweat, to carry the weight of families, communities, and entire organizations on our backs without flinching. We've been praised for our resilience, celebrated for our ability to endure, and rewarded for our capacity to keep going no matter what. But here's the truth that Sherrita Barrie shared with me, and it's a truth that will shake the foundation of everything you thought you knew. That narrative of constant strength, that expectation of endless resilience is not empowering us. It's exhausting us. It's limiting our leadership. It's preventing us from building the kind of authentic connections that lead to real, lasting success. It's killing our joy. It's stealing our peace. And it's robbing us of the very thing we need most, our humanity. Sherrita Barrie told me something that stopped me in my tracks. She said that embracing softness and vulnerability is not a weakness for Black professionals and entrepreneurs. It is a strategic asset. Let that sink in for a moment. Strategic asset, not a flaw to hide, not a crack in your armor, but a tool, a resource, a competitive advantage in a world that desperately needs more authentic leadership. Now, I know what some of you are thinking: softness, vulnerability in the boardroom, in the startup world, in spaces where we're already underestimated, already fighting for a seat at the table. Yes, exactly there. Because here's what happens when we lead with empathy, openness, and self compassion. We create space for deeper connections. We build trust faster. We foster innovation because our teams feel safe enough to take risks. We model a kind of leadership that doesn't burn people out but lifts them up. And we create sustainable success, not the kind that requires us to sacrifice our health, our relationships, and our peace of mind. Let me share with you three real world examples that prove this isn't just theory. These are stories of Black women who dared to lead with softness and changed entire industries in the process. First, let's talk about Morgan DeBaun. In 2014, Morgan noticed something that many of us have felt: a lack of spaces where Black professionals could connect and share real stories. Mainstream media and tech spaces weren't prioritizing Black voices, and funding opportunities were scarce. She saw a gap, but more than that, she felt a calling. So Morgan did something radical. She built Blavity, a media company focused on Black millennials, and she built it on a foundation of community, authentic storytelling, and vulnerability in leadership. Morgan didn't pretend to have all the answers. She didn't walk into investor meetings with a perfect pitch, and a flawless facade. She openly shared her challenges and triumphs with her team and her audience. She created a culture where people could show up as their whole selves, where softness wasn't seen as weakness, but as connection. She let her team see her struggles. She admitted when she didn't know something. She asked for help. She celebrated failures as learning moments. And what happened? Blavity grew into a multi platform brand. They secured significant venture capital funding, breaking through barriers that had kept so many Black founders locked out. They launched multiple successful digital brands. They host Afro Tech, one of the largest conferences for Black professionals in tech, drawing thousands of attendees who come not just for the content, but for the community, for the feeling of belonging that Morgan created from day one. And Morgan became a thought leader in Black entrepreneurship, inspiring a new generation to lead with authenticity and prioritize community building. Blavity's success didn't happen despite Morgan's vulnerability. It happened because of it. Her willingness to be real, to be soft, to be human created a magnetic pull that attracted talent, investors, and a fiercely loyal community of millions. She proved that when you lead with your whole heart, people don't just follow you, they believe in you. Now let's talk about Melissa Butler. Melissa started the Lip Bar in her kitchen because she was tired of the lack of diverse, safe, and affordable beauty options for women of color. She had a vision, but the world wasn't ready to see it. She faced repeated rejection from investors who told her there was no market for what she was creating. She even appeared on Shark Tank, standing in front of millions of viewers, pouring her heart out about her dream, only to be told her brand would never succeed. Imagine that moment. The cameras rolling, the lights hot, the sharks circling. And then the words that could have destroyed her: your brand will never succeed. Most people would have given up. Most people would have walked off that stage, gone home, and let that rejection define them. But Melissa did something different. She maintained her vision. She openly discussed her setbacks, not just with her inner circle, but with her audience. She engaged her community with honesty about her journey, sharing the rejections, the sleepless nights, the moments of doubt. She didn't hide her struggles, she shared them. She didn't pretend to be invincible. She showed her humanity and that authenticity, that vulnerability, that willingness to be soft in a hard industry. It resonated. People saw themselves in her story. They saw their own rejections, their own dreams deferred, their own moments of being told they weren't enough. And they rallied around her, they supported her. They became not just customers, but advocates, ambassadors, believers. Today, the Lip Bar is sold in major retailers like Target and Walmart. The company has expanded its product line, reaching customers across the country. Melissa has built a strong social media presence and shifted the conversation around beauty standards, proving that there is not only a market for inclusive beauty, but a hunger for it. The Lip Bar's success has paved the way for more inclusive beauty brands and shown the power of authenticity in entrepreneurship. Melissa's vulnerability didn't make her weak, it made her unstoppable. And finally, let me tell you about Dr. Sherrita Hill Golden. Dr. Golden is a nationally recognized physician leader and advocate for health equity, honored as one of Maryland's top 100 women. She navigated a field where Black women are severely underrepresented in leadership, facing both systemic and interpersonal barriers that would have broken many people. The microaggressions, the overlooked promotions, the isolation of being the only one in the room who looks like you, the exhaustion of having to prove your competence over and over again. But Dr. Golden chose a different path. She led with empathy, transparency, and a commitment to mentoring others. She fostered an inclusive environment at Johns Hopkins Medicine, one of the most prestigious medical institutions in the world. She didn't lead by being the toughest person in the room. She didn't lead by outworking everyone or by never showing emotion. She led by being the most authentic, the most compassionate, the most willing to show up as her whole self. She created mentorship programs. She advocated for policy changes that addressed health disparities. She spoke openly about the challenges she faced as a Black woman in medicine, not to complain, but to create pathways for those coming behind her. And her leadership has advanced health equity initiatives and inspired more diverse leadership in academic medicine. Dr. Golden's career demonstrates how leading with authenticity and compassion can break barriers and create lasting institutional change. Her softness didn't diminish her authority, it amplified her impact. Three women, three different industries, one common thread. They all understood something that Sherrita Barrie has been teaching, that softness is a leadership strength. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and authentic, you open doors to collaboration, innovation, and trust building in professional spaces. You create environments where people want to work with you, not just for you. You build teams that are loyal, creative, and resilient, not because you demanded it, but because you modeled it. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Sherrita Barrie shared another insight with me that challenges our understanding of resilience itself. We've been taught that resilience means pushing through no matter what. It means never showing weakness, never asking for help, never admitting when you're struggling. But Sherrita Barrie says that's not resilience, that's survival mode, and survival mode is not sustainable. True resilience, the kind that fuels long term achievement, isn't about suppressing emotion or always pushing through. It's about knowing when to pause, seek support, and care for yourself. It's about recognizing that rest is not laziness, boundaries are not selfishness, and asking for help is not failure. It's wisdom. Think about it. When you're constantly in survival mode, you're operating from a place of scarcity. You're making decisions based on fear, not vision. You're reacting instead of creating. You're so focused on just getting through the day that you can't see the opportunities right in front of you. You're running on fumes, wondering why you can't seem to get ahead, not realizing that the very thing you need, rest, reflection, restoration, is the thing you've been denying yourself. But when you give yourself permission to pause, to rest, to be soft, something shifts. You start operating from a place of abundance. You make decisions based on your values, not your fears. You become proactive instead of reactive. You start seeing possibilities you couldn't see before because you were too exhausted to look up. You start dreaming again. You start creating again, you start living again. And here's the third insight that Sherrita Barrie shared, one that I believe has the power to transform not just individual careers, but entire industries, community, over competition. In a world that constantly tells us there's not enough room at the top, that we have to fight for our seat, that someone else's success means less for us, Sherrita Barrie is saying something revolutionary. Building genuine relationships and uplifting others in your network leads to shared success and a more supportive entrepreneurial ecosystem. When we stop seeing each other as competition and start seeing each other as community, everything changes. We share resources instead of hoarding them. We celebrate each other's wins instead of feeling threatened by them. We collaborate instead of competing, and we create a rising tide that lifts all boats. This is what Morgan DeBon did with Blavity. She didn't just build a company, she built a community. She created spaces like Afrotech where Black professionals could connect, learn, and grow together. This is what Melissa Butler did with the lip bar. She didn't just sell lipstick, she created a movement that made room for other inclusive beauty brands. This is what Dr. Sherrita Hill Golden did at Johns Hopkins. She didn't just climb the ladder, she reached back and pulled others up with her through mentoring and advocacy. So here's what I want you to understand: the soft girl era is not about being weak, it's not about giving up or giving in. It's not about lowering your standards or settling for less. The soft girl era is about redefining strength on your own terms. It's about recognizing that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders to be valuable. It's about understanding that your worth is not measured by how much you can endure, but by how fully you can live. It's about choosing yourself not out of burnout, but out of reverence. Sherrita Barrie is helping Black professionals and entrepreneurs make this shift. She's showing us that we can be ambitious and restful. We can be successful and soft. We can be leaders and learners. We can be strong and vulnerable. These are not contradictions, they are completions. They are the fullness of who we are when we stop performing strength and start embodying wholeness. So I want to leave you with a challenge today, not a gentle suggestion, not a nice idea to think about when you have time. A challenge. How can you intentionally create space for softness, vulnerability, and authentic connection in your professional journey? And what new possibilities might open up for you and your community if you do? What would happen if you stopped trying to prove your strength and started sharing your humanity? What doors might open if you led with empathy instead of armor? What relationships might deepen if you showed up as your whole self instead of your perfect self? What innovations might emerge if you created spaces where people felt safe enough to be vulnerable, to take risks, to fail and try again? The world doesn't need more superheroes. It needs more humans. Real, flawed, beautiful, soft humans who are brave enough to lead with their hearts as well as their minds. Sherrita Barrie is showing us the way. Morgan DeBon, Melissa Butler, and Dr. Sherita Hill Golden have proven it works. Now it's your turn. I want you to think about one thing you're going to do differently this week. One boundary you're going to set, one time you're going to choose rest over hustle. One moment you're going to be honest instead of perfect. One conversation where you're going to lead with vulnerability instead of armor. Just one thing. And then I want you to notice what happens. Notice how people respond. Notice how you feel. Notice what shifts. Because here's the truth: the armor you've been wearing, the one you thought was protecting you, it's actually the cage that's been holding you back. And the key to that cage is softness, it's vulnerability, it's the courage to be fully, authentically, unapologetically you. So take off the cape, set down the armor, step into your soft girl era. Not because you're weak, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally ready to be free. Free to lead with your whole heart, free to build the life and career you've always dreamed of, free to show the world what real strength looks like. The revolution isn't coming, it's already here. And it's softer, more vulnerable, and more powerful than anything we've ever seen before. Welcome to your soft girl era. The world is waiting for the real you. Don't make us wait any longer.